Okay, so this particular mini lesson is about rotation and rotating objects. That's slightly different than rotating the scene. Let's zoom in here and let's pick something that's in the camera view here. I don't want to use the red square. I'll pick this one here. All right, and I'm going to zoom in so you can get a little bit of perspective. And I want you to move around so that you can get kind of the views I do. And it's okay for you to pause the video or replay it or whatever it takes. That's part of the learning process. Again, this is an immersive class where you do, and then in the process you learn things. I've seen classes where it's just pages and pages of words and descriptions, and you memorize and take multiple, choice question things, and then when you sit down, you have no idea what button to press on the screen. So this is an immersive learning class. And so it seems like it's going a little fast, but because it's on video, because it's on PowerPoint, you can back up and play as many times as you need. And my email address, I think, is on every major slide, so you can ask me questions. I would love to answer questions. I'll only hide if you get mean to me, because I don't like to be mean to people, and I don't want them mean to me. So rotation. Let's do a file save, because I like to do that a lot. We were on the Move tool. Now we're going to click the Rotate tool. I want you to watch what happens to these arrows. They change to this little circular thing. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to move around. There's three rings. There's the blue ring, the red ring, and the green ring. So let's move around so we can kind of see all three of them. Green on green is hard. So just temporarily, I'm going to go down here to Resources. I don't want you to do this. Reusable, Materials, Blue, Yellow, yeah, shoot. Maybe yellow will be an easier. We'll temporarily drop yellow down here. Does that make the green easier? Yeah, it's ugly, but it makes it easier to see. So in the Rotate tool, as what I did is I just dragged yellow onto the floor, and it made the floor yellow. These are called materials. That's another lesson, and you'll have fun with those. They're weird new words, but easy to do. So again, there's the red ring, which is for the x-axis. There is the green ring for the y-axis, and there is the blue ring for the z-axis. So if I grab this ring, and what I'm doing is I'm putting the mouse on the ring, and I am rotating it. Like if I go sideways, it doesn't do much, but if I rotate it the same direction as that little arc, it rotates it for me. And if you look on the right-hand side of the inspector window is here, you'll see that I'm changing those numbers of the Z. Right? So I can do that by grabbing, I can also do it, I should say, by click my mouse button on the Z, press and hold the left mouse button, and go up or down. I can rotate it this way, or I can type in a number. Like let's say we want it to be 15 degrees. Boom, it's at 15 degrees. Or if we wanted it minus 15 degrees, we just put a minus sign in front of it, and boom, it's now minus 15 degree leaning. We can do the same thing with the y-axis. Because it's leaning, it looks kind of goofy. We can do the same thing with the x-axis. All right, let's see. And I'm going to include some more moving instructions in here for the Move tool in a second, because I wanted to show you this first. Now, watch what happens in the inspector with us leaning strangely. If I grab any one of these axes and move it, you'll notice even though I'm doing the x-axis, it's changing the y and the z. And what that's doing is it's allowing me to adjust it. Like I could never figure out that angle. If I wanted it to line up something in the scene, I could never figure out this angle, even if I was a mathematician. But I can drag the red or the blue or the green and make it twist any way I want, and it does the right thing over here. Okay? Now then, let's go back to the Move tool for a second. Now you see how, okay, let's go back to global like we've seen it before. This is global. Green is up and down. Red is the x-axis, which is left and right. And Z is always front and back. Now what happens if I grab the green arrow and pull it up? I'm left clicking on the arrow and pulling up and down, and it goes. Same with the Z, and same with the X. But what if I wanted to drag this cube not that way or this? I wanted to drag it in the direction it's pointing up. Here, we set this to local space, and now all of a sudden you see that the arrows align with the object I've selected, whereas in global, they align with the world. So if I go to local and drag these, it drags them in the direction I want and keeps the cube in the same orientation without getting all confused. Where if I go back to global and I wanted to just slide it to the right, I have to go up, oops, go over, maybe go down a little, right? But where if I put it in local, it just slides in that direction, in the direction that it's facing, right? So I can, between global and local, put it exactly where I want. And I can rotate it around visually or by the numbers. Let's just change that to a 30. Boom, now it's 30 degrees. Okay, so and you go, well, gee, that was, the y-axis. This is the y-axis. Don't forget, it's around the y-axis, not spinning. That's what happens to a cube over here that we haven't made lean. I'm going to select this one and zoom in on it with the middle mouse. Whoop, that was the bug. It just jumped a whole bunch. Okay, so now I'm going to set this back to local, or to global, I should say. And then I'm going to, with the rotate tool, there we go. Now if I grab the x-axis, I want you to pretend that there's a pin through the center of that, so it makes it really obvious that I'm rotating around the x-axis or the z-axis or the y-axis, right? If I set these all to 0 and I play with the z-axis, oops, that's not the one I wanted. I wanted the y-axis, sorry. Control Z to undo. I don't know what it's doing there. Select this, set this to 0. I hit an undo, but it must have hit something else accidentally with my finger. I still got the cube selected. If I rotate the y-axis, it spins it, right? Because it's in local space. Now, if I hit global over here, watch what happens. The same thing. Why is that? Because the global space and the local space are aligned the same. Like that's the global space, and because it's perfectly vertical, it's the same as the local space. Only when I lean it are they different. And if I switch back to the move tool, the arrow changes between local and global. And I think you kind of get the idea. If not, just remember it's there. So when you can't quite align something, play with the local and the global, especially with rotating weird objects to meet other shapes at weird angles, because it's so much easier to zoom in and go a little more. Well, no, sorry, it doesn't line up. Maybe that way. There we go. And trying to figure out those angles, it's not happening. So that's how you use the rotate tool. The next tool we'll talk about is I call it the size tool. It's also called the scaling tool. They call it the scaling tool. I call it the size tool. So anyway, that's the end of this little video. I'll see you in the next video, and where we'll talk about how to scale objects.